I'm Tina Rose. I'm the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of San Diego County, but I'm also a mom of two amazing teenagers. And our mission is a 120-year-old mission. Big Brothers Big Sisters creates and supports one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and the promise of our youth. And my journey with Big Brothers Big Sisters and this mission began almost 30 years ago when I was working in college in a group home. And then fast forward to opening a foster and adoption agency, a branch agency here in San Diego. And while I knew we were providing crisis intervention and a critical safe place for children who had experienced abuse and neglect, something gnawed in me, a question. What if we could step ahead of that crisis and provide support sooner? And that question kind of stirred with me for a number of years. And then I was listening to the president and his State of Union address in 2003, and he shared passionately about mentoring and the impacts, the positive impacts that he sees in families and communities. And it was like a light bulb moment for me. I thought, this is it. Mentoring is how we swim upstream and provide resources now to help children and families now so we can channel them down a different path towards new opportunities. And so that's why I'm here. And I have been honored to have a front row seat to watch thousands of lives change over the last 21 years at my time at this organization. And at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we don't just talk about potential, we ignite it. So by activating the most powerful catalyst that we have in our possession, and that's a professionally supported one-to-one mentoring relationship. Our highly trained staff strategically match bigs, caring adults, with our children at promise, who we affectionately call littles. And this is a proven both prevention and intervention plan. It's built on rigorous safety standards and best practices, and it's meant to forge friendships that build resilience, confidence, and a vision for success. Simply put, we are an evidence-based engine for social change. Today, while we're thinking globally about the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, I want to show you why thinking locally about one child and one relationship and investing in one child can be the most monumental step we take towards a healthier society, bridging inequalities within our communities, and securing a massive return on investment that transforms social good into long-term economic stability. Right here in San Diego, we have a crisis of opportunity. We have hundreds of kids waiting for someone to ignite their potential. And while these characteristics don't define our youth, they're navigating multiple barriers to reaching their potential. 76% of our youth are experiencing economic hardship at home. That's 7 times more likely to drop out as a high school student as a result. Nearly half of them have been exposed to trauma, leading to long-term mental and physical implications. Close to 10% have a parent that's incarcerated, leading to increased recidivism, and 25% have a military-connected parent. And this one is important to San Diego, right? This is important to families like mine. I grew up in a military family. Military families are facing deployments, they're facing multiple moves, multiple schools, and a loss of that connection to their extended family who they've had to move away from, as well as sometimes a loss of a parent. For all these youth, Big Brother or Big Sister is a stabilizing force. However, the stark reality is that 1 in 3, the children here in San Diego and nationwide, do not have access to a mentor. And that's where formal mentoring can come in. Boys right now make up 70% of our waiting list. So while we serve an equal number of boys and girls, our waiting list consists of mostly boys. And right now they're waiting about 7 months on the average. We know a lot can happen in 7 months. And in worst case scenarios, some don't get matched at all, which can lead to isolation and a lack of belief in their future. And this disconnection was recently talked about in a New York Times article, which articulated too many young men today are becoming unwoven from the fabric of our society. This disconnection is not only dangerous for them, it's dangerous for every single one of us. We have to provide the positive, pro-social approach that is currently lacking. So this challenge is actually not unprecedented. There was a boy problem in the 1990s, and it was driven by massive social change and growing inequality, and it led to an extraordinary civic response, including the founding of Big Brothers in 1904. But now, 120 years later, we need that same commitment, that same response for this generation of boys. So what are we doing about it? We are answering the call by driving change, not just locally, but statewide. So we're helping lead the 10,000 Men's Service Challenge. And this is in partnership with the governor's office to recruit men across the state to stand up and serve. Our governor said in his executive order, it's about showing a young man that he matters, that there's a path for him of purpose, dignity, work, and real connection. That's what Big Brothers Big Sisters does every day, one match at a time. And speaking of a match, I'd love to introduce you to Adrian and Matt. They're a match that I've gotten to know well over the last few months, and they're really the heart of our mission. Little brother Adrian, at just 12 years old, had this sudden and devastating loss of his mother. And in the midst of that loss and in the midst of his grief and fear, he reached out to his lifeline, his big brother Matt. And in the difficult months that followed, Matt became Adrian's anchor. He really became an empathetic ear because Matt himself also had just recently lost his own brother. They reminded each other to find joy in the little things, as simple as an ice cream cone, a walk on the beach, sharing holiday memories, or just those funny inside jokes that kept them smiling even on the hardest days. And Adrian could have become unwoven, just like so many other boys are. But Matt provided a consistent, safe place. And that tethered him, right? That was his connection point, grounding him to hope and a strong mindset during this life-altering trauma. Matt showed up when it mattered most. And our community mentoring program is built on those values of consistency and reliability. It's not about expensive outings. It is just about showing up. And we also have a program called Sports Bigs. It's an innovative program where we provide tickets to all sorts of sporting events throughout the year, Padre games, and we also put on sports clinics with some of our partners. Things like ultimate frisbee with the San Diego Growlers, or a basketball clinic with the San Diego State men's Aztec team. And through this, a trusted mentoring relationship, our bigs teach resilience. They deepen their communication skills and they forge a mutually beneficial bond where both the big and the little benefit. With scores of third-party research validating our mentoring program, our model is not based on assumptions. Our impact is measurable and proven over decades of research. We are a proven upstream solution. So I could pick a lot of different things to talk about, but I want to highlight 2 research studies that were groundbreaking and released just this year. And the first one is a rigorous 4-year study that was produced, supported by Arnold Ventures, and really considered the gold standard of research. And this confirmed our impact, that 31% decrease in violence-related delinquent behavior. A third of our littles are less likely to engage in risky behaviors altogether, and they are far less likely to drop out of school. But this one I want you to hear. 42% are less likely to report suicidal thoughts. Talk about saving lives just by telling a child that they matter. The next one is a long-term economic mobility study out of Harvard and the US Treasury that is rooted in 30 years of data. And what it found out was amazing. Specifically, our littles are 20% more likely to go to college, 15% higher earnings over the lifetime, and that's closing the economic gap by 2/3. Our work is a direct and powerful investment in the global sustainable development goals. We advance quality education. Our littles are more confident in their schoolwork. 52% are less likely to skip class. High school seniors have averaged a 94% graduation rate over the last 3 years, with 42% becoming first-generation college students. We know that higher education is a strong predictor of long-term economic stability. And our Big Futures initiative ensures that youth stay on a path to graduation with a plan post-secondary to persist. And with 80% of our 2025 graduating class continuing their education after high school, we are actively addressing the decent work and economic growth goal. We reduce inequalities by closing that socioeconomic gap for our youth, driving powerful upward mobility. Our bigs bridge access to social capital. They do this by introducing their littles to their network, providing career advice, soft skills, and professional expectations. We often say, if you can see it, you can be it. And it reminds me of one of our little sisters, Jackie, who right now is studying at Berkeley. She's studying law there because she was so inspired by her big sister, Shireen, who is a corporate lawyer right here in San Diego. We also found that the government can recoup the cost of a match through increased tax revenue in just 7 years. Mentoring is not charity. It is the most cost-effective social investment in our community today. As a leader in my organization, it's my job to ensure that every child who wants a big gets one, and that no one is left behind. So today, I want to ask my changemaker friends here, can you help us scale this model? By either volunteering as big, we definitely need big brothers. We also need women in geographical areas. We also have a big couples program where you can actually volunteer together. And we have a particular need for Spanish speakers. So are you ready to become a mentor? Do you know someone who could become a mentor? Send them this message. Tell them why they'd make a great big, and I bet they're going to thank you for that later. And I know that child and their family will thank you. And then help fund our mission. Everything that we do is free, but everything costs money. And with safety as our number one priority, we require money to screen, train, and provide ongoing support. So every child on our waiting list holds the brilliance of a future entrepreneur, a dedicated teacher, a counselor, a compassionate leader. But what they're waiting for is one champion to show them the abundance that is already within them. Thank you.